So, hello, Ankush. With me today is Ankush Jain, who is a coach and budding author. And Ankush, how long have you been a coach now?
It's coming up to 5 years now. Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
And I know that you're really keen to reach out to new coaches, and particularly around the area of marketing. So, why is that so close to your heart?
Yeah, that's a good question, Liz. I really struggled when I was starting out. I not in terms of impact. I found that people were really impacted by the work I was doing really early on, and of course that increases as you get better. But I'm not. It was okay starting out, but I really struggled with the whole, how do you market yourself? Um, how do you create clients? What do you charge? How does this work from a commercial point of view? And what I found is either there was no information available, and I was told to kind of just trust my wisdom, or the information I got just didn't feel right. It felt a bit manipulative and, I don't know, salesy, icky kind of, used car salesman type of stuff. Um, or then but there was stuff that just didn't sit right with me, basically. And so I kind of just tried stuff out myself over time, found stuff that worked, played with stuff that didn't. And what I found is that after a few years, I had very different views on things to a lot of what I'd say, like, kind of mainstream ideas around this stuff. I'm not saying things that haven't been said by other people, but I think there's a lot of stuff that I see out there in the coaching community. For example, one of the things I see is, you've got to sign up high value clients, high paying clients, right? And this seems to be, the only way to make it as a coach is if you've got people paying you tens of thousands of pounds or dollars or euros each, and that's kind of the gold standard. And to me, that's just simply not true, because you've got all sorts of coaches who are doing this full time, making a decent living, and there's no one way to do this. I mean, I've talked about this before, but what I really started to see more recently was, not only do I have a different point of view, but actually it's harmful. It's actually harmful for people to buy into some of that stuff, because I speak to a lot of coaches. I run a group for coaches, and so I end up speaking to a lot of them. And one of the things that I see is that a lot of newer coaches buy into this. They'll get a client, and it's not that they don't get any clients. Sometimes they'll get a client or two at X thousand pounds, to sell them a package, and they're like, great. I've got this client at 2.5K. All I need is 10 more of these, and I'll quit my job or whatever. And well, they have this thing, I need one of these a month, and that's okay, and then we'll grow it from there. And then they struggle. They really struggle. And yet they are surrounded by people, for example, who would pay them some money for coaching. And I often go back to coaches and say, look, you're very new, you don't have a full practice, you could do with the money right now. There are people here willing to pay you some money. Why are you holding out for this big high fee that you are, that you've been holding out for? And often they say, oh, that's because I thought what I was supposed to do. They've bought into this, like, it's got to look a certain way. And when I kind of challenge that and say, no, it's your business, you can do whatever you want, quite often they breathe a sigh of relief, like, can I? Like, really? I'm like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. And, especially when you're starting out, I think it's more important to have, experience with a number of clients than it is any particular fee, because the fee will grow. If you're a good coach and you're doing good work, you'll get referrals, people will know more about you, you'll become better as a coach, your fee will grow anyway. It's not something to worry about. But I think because there's been such a marketing orientated approach to selling training programs, right? People are being sold to what the marketers think they want to hear. Do my course and you can sign up clients at 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand. And everyone's like, oh, wow, that's amazing. But what they don't see is, in the longer term, it's really detrimental for coaches. So I'm really passionate about trying to redress that misunderstanding and saying, look, you don't need to do that. Yes, of course, do packages. Yes, of course, there's nothing wrong with charging high fees, not at all. but there isn't, that's not the way to do things, that you have to. And quite often it can really restrict you as a coach, and it can stop you from doing, I think most coaches come into this profession to help people, right? That's really why they're in this, not to make money. And so we all need to make money, but do what you came into the profession to, help people.
Okay, so this is kind of helpful. Let me just recap some of the things I'm hearing here. So there's one thing, which is if you're you know, being a good coach does not equal making an income or a living from coaching. So that's one thing that I'm really hearing. And the other thing that I'm hearing is that, particularly with coaches who often go into this field because they have a real heartfelt sense of connecting and wanting to support others, is that this marketing and selling aspect can have a bit of a weird feel to it. And so there is sometimes this almost like seduction of some of the marketeers maybe out there encouraging you to get high paying clients or to do it this particular way. They can kind of just jam up the whole system of being a coach and trying to get new clients. So what I'm hearing, what you're saying here with particularly new coaches, is like, you don't have to hold out for a high paying client. Look around you, see if there are people out there that will pay, and use this as a bit of a training and building of credibility as you develop yourself in your business. Is that what I'm hearing there, Ankush?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what I haven't said is, then if you don't follow the sales and marketing approach, what do you do? Right. And for me, there's no secret. Go and do what you do. Right. So if you've been trained as a coach, you understand how to coach, go and coach people, right? Go and give talks. It's not rocket science. Go and do what you do, go and do what you're good at. As you do this, you will get better. As you get better, you will sign up more clients. You know, when you say if you're impactful, that doesn't equal clients, that's true. And let me kind of unpack that a little bit. There is impact and then there is impact, right? So you can have a conversation with someone and they go, oh, that's an impactful conversation. But impact it's not black and white. It's not on and off. Like, you either were impactful or you weren't. There are degrees of impact. So you can have a conversation with someone and they'll say, wow, that was impactful, in terms of it will get them thinking differently for the rest of the day. You can have another conversation which is so impactful, it changes the course of someone's life. Now, those two are very different things. And if you are more towards the latter, then the chances of someone paying you money for coaching are going to be vastly different than if you're impactful, the first one, which is, oh, wow, that made me think differently. But then by tomorrow, they've forgotten about it.
So you're talking about degrees of impact as a coach, and maybe what people hear and where it lands. And I know that, you know, from my experience with working with people who are new to coaching and starting out as coaching, that there is this sort of transition between learning the ropes of coaching, learning what it is to coach, practicing with people pro bono, and then taking this step into this world of charging for coaching. And I'd be ever so curious, I know this is an area that you must be very familiar with, just some ideas for people as they're basically facing that stage of their coaching journey.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there are so many ideas. Like, there are so many things you can do. One thing you can do is, if you've been doing pro bono coaching, if that's been really impactful, you can offer the pro bono. So they're the ones that know you best. Hey, I've been giving you some pro bono sessions now for X number of sessions. I'm going to stop doing the pro bono work because I'm moving into now a paid thing, or moved into paid coaching. Would you like me to talk to you about what that might look like, or would you be interested in that? You know, so that's just a really easy thing. Now, chances are, you know, most people, or a lot of people, aren't going to say yes, right? That's just the way it goes, but some might. And so, you know, start off with people that you're already talking to, start off with people that you're close to. And then after that, it's just about, I think it's about willing to go and just talk to people. I think that's the biggest thing. There's no, like I said, there's not rocket science. I can give a ton of ideas of what you can do. But what often I find is that when I speak to coaches, I'll say, do you know who you could really help? And they'll say, yeah. And there's a list of names that they're in their head. Well, have you gone and spoken to them? And quite often no, because they're afraid, right? Because it's normally people that they know quite well. And all it takes is to go and talk to those people and give them an experience of what you do. Not in a big, like, give me 2 hours of your time and I'll change your life kind of thing, because that can feel a bit heavy. But just talking to them about coaching and what you do as a coach, getting them to experience your coaching. And, maybe you have a session, maybe you have a couple of sessions, and then you can just offer it. You can say, would you like to see what this looks like longer term if we were to carry on working together? And I find that once you become really impactful, people will ask you, how can I hire you? That's always a good sign. I think in the traditional sales world, they call it buying signals, right? So that's kind of something to look out for. And I know I very rarely make proposals. I do, but more often than not now, I've spoken to someone and they've asked me, what do you charge? If I was to work with you, what would that look like? So it kind of more effortlessly moves in that direction. But look, when you're starting out, before you get there, you can just very gently ask people, say, and here's the thing, be really honest about it. So like I mentioned earlier on, you don't need to have some big strategy or tactic. I'll often say to clients, oh, I want to work with this client, and okay, well, tell me about them. Well, you know what, they're full of potential and we're just getting started, and I can see that, if we carried on working together, X, Y, Z would be possible. And I say to them, have you told the client? Have you told them this is what you see? And they're like, well, no, we were trying to get them to sign up. Well, forget getting them to sign up. Tell them what you see. That's part of being a coach, and let them know, not as a tactic, not as a strategy, but what you see. And similarly, if you don't see that them working with you would be really beneficial and what work you could do, well, then don't make a proposal. Don't work with them. It's no point. This profession really works on referral, and it's a long-term game, I feel. So you don't want to make a quick buck, even if you can, it's detrimental to your business in the longer term. You want to really serve people and do good work. And if you're at a stage where they're done and it's enough, great. But if you're at a place where you think, oh God, we're just getting started and there's so much more to come with a client, they don't even realize, well, say that.
So, I mean, really, like you say, this isn't rocket science. What I'm hearing from you, Ankush, is this is about building relationships. This is about reaching out to people. This is about having conversations. This is about learning about somebody else's world. This is about what rings through with what you're saying is this authenticity. This is about you being authentic yourself. And I remember I heard, I think it was Chip Chipman say, it's almost like it's when you talk from behind your mask and you're talking to the person behind their mask. It's that kind of heartfelt connection. Now, as a result of that, what might come up is some kind of long-term or some kind of coaching relationship or dialogue. However, the starting point, as I'm hearing it, is connection, and really seeing and getting in touch with whether you really feel that the coaching may have an impact and may really support the person in front of you, rather than approaching them, imagining your bank balance and thinking, oh my goodness, I really wish I can sign somebody up so I can fill a hole in my bank balance. There's a very different vibe that goes on, I should imagine, between those two.
Yeah, a great rule of thumb for me is put yourself in the other person's shoes. And I've hired coaches before I became a coach. I hired coaches, I went on training courses. So I had lots of experience of being on the other side of the table. And I just thought, what things did I like? What things did I not like? And if you've never hired a coach yourself, I'm assuming you've done some kind of training to train to be a coach. So just think about it. And look, if you're creating something that you've never signed up for, so maybe you do a certain kind of training or a certain kind of whatever, just put yourself in the other person's shoes. How would you like to be approached? What would you like? And so, you mentioned Chip Chipman, who's really a 3 principles practitioner. You know, there are a lot of people, I'm guessing, who are watching this maybe come from a 3 principles point of view, and that community of which I'm part of, we often tell clients to tap into their wisdom, tap into their common sense, tap into what they already know is true for themselves. And what's really interesting is, as coaches, sometimes we don't say this, but this is how it comes across: trust your wisdom, except when it comes to hiring me, then trust my wisdom, do what I tell you to do, right? And it makes no sense, right? Either we tell the client to trust their wisdom all the time, or we tell them to trust us. You can't have it both ways. And so what I realized is, if I'm working with someone or I'm talking to someone and they feel it's not the right time for them, it is absolutely no point me trying to convince them to work with me, because you know, the only thing I can do is point them to wisdom. Now, if fear is showing up for them, then I still want to be a coach, and I want to examine that, not because I want them to sign up, but because I'm a coach. But you know, I'm always looking for a client's wisdom. So if a client's wisdom says me working with you is not the right time, or it's not the right use of my resources, fantastic, right? Good. That's a good thing. You know, it's not a bad thing. And people may be listening to this and going, oh, well, we live in the real world. We still need clients. It's all right for you. Yeah, me too. I live in the real world. I've got bills to pay. I have you know, you know, it's not like I'm separated from whoever's listening to this. This actually really helps you to grow your practice, because if you're the kind of person who's really pushy and aggressive in terms of a sales point of view, right, your existing clients, even if they got value from you, are going to be reluctant to refer you. So, you know, I've had this too, where I've worked with people, done their courses or something, and I've got value from it. But when they've asked for referrals, I've been slightly reluctant, because I'm like, I'm not going to refer someone to them because I know what they're like. They're really pushy when it comes to selling. So no matter if the course is good or not, it holds me back. And that's not good for the coach. That's not good for the prospective client. It's a lose-lose situation. Whereas if I know someone is just really, really heart-centered, really coming from a place of service, I'm very happy to refer clients to them. I mean, I do. I refer clients to other coaches all of the time, but I refer clients to coaches who I know aren't going to be pushy, aggressive salespeople.
Great tips. Ankush, it's been a real delight speaking with you today. Thanks so much for your time.